We are back for a new episode of the Fight HQ podcast. Of course, I am Jason Floyd. As always, joined by the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. here to break down UFC Vegas 115. Goes down tomorrow inside the Apex. And, Pete, there is no sugarcoating this, man. On paper, this is rough.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a great card. But for me, beggars can't be choosers. So I would rather have these fights than no fights. So thankful that the UFC puts on a ton of events throughout the year. But yeah, this one is definitely one of the worst ones of 2026.
Look, I get it. I mean, and I know I mentioned this in the Fight HQ Discord channel. You might have to go back to UFC Fight Night 76, which was in Ireland, which was a late notice main event with 𝗲𝗲 being in there. It's probably on paper. But I mean, look, we're coming off a week at UFC Seattle where we had our best fight card of the year. I mean, you just think top to bottom with the action that we got in there. And congratulations to Joey Rock taking the Fight Shoot contest last week, scoring 595 points. By the way, we had 9 fighters last week over 100 points. Douglas scoring 121.95. Boy, that's got to be a guy to pay attention to with the power that he has there at 145 pounds. Terrence McKinney goes out there, does it again, sub minute, 120 points. Still can't get a fight night bonus.
Really? He's never had one?
He's never won a fight night bonus. It is absolutely insane. One of the crazy stats out there. Thainar in the opening matchup scored 119 points. Sterling 113. Casey O'Neill 110. Crazy that she was apparently wearing 2 left-handed gloves. Kind of an odd one on that one.
What?
Yeah, that came out there. Nice call on Belgari for you last week, scoring 106. Apologies to Lance Gibson Jr. I was completely wrong on that one. He goes out there and scores 100. It's 6 in that one. Poor guy is literally from Seattle but resides in Canada and just getting booed out the building because he's taking on a fellow Seattle fighter, Alexa Grasso. Holy cow, Pete. Let me just get your take as a fighter. I mean, she did this before to Valentina, and she does it here, and just the quick transition of knocking her out to immediately sinking in the choke.
Yeah, it's one of the most brutal finishes I've ever seen in mixed martial arts. I mean, the shot spun her around like a cartoon character, and then within a half a second, she was already latched onto the neck. I mean, it was like remarkable killer instinct, which led to a ton of people debating, is the referee stopping it because of the knockdown or because of the submission, because it happened so quickly? I mean, I don't think it gave the referee a chance to really react to the punches because it happened so quickly. Obviously, she was completely out of it from the shot. So I would say that's a knockout, but I can definitely, if I had the submission prop with money on it, I would be really upset. You know what I mean? I could see people why they're upset with that. And for me, I had that fight going the distance. It was like minus 400 or something. And of course, just an unnecessary parlay leg that I included to like make my odds slightly better. And my buddy and I were at the sports book, and I'm like, we're like, yeah, this is definitely going 15 minutes. And then that happened, and I go, wow. I mean, if the fight was going to end, at least it was a historic finish, and that finish was absolutely insane.
Yeah, absolutely insane there. It was officially ruled TKO. So yeah, if you had that submission prop, I mean, you just had to be hating life. And and kudos to Mike Beltran. I mean, running in, the wireless microphone kit on his belt buckle is flying off his shirt because he's trying to get there so quick. And then it was odd to me of how long they kept the camera on Maycee Barber.
I didn't like that, yeah.
And the doctor, I was kind of sitting there going, he's just like sitting there like, hey, you good? You all right?
Yeah. A bunch of my friends are in the medical field, right? So we have a bunch of medical professionals within my friend group, and I mean, they were shitting on that doctor. I mean, no vitals, not doing anything other than like, I feel like rubbing her shoulder and saying it's okay. You know what I mean? Like outside of that, I thought the camera work was a little unnecessary. I mean, show the person who's celebrating a little bit more. But I mean, maybe that's a Paramount call. I don't know. But yeah, for me, we see people get brutally knocked out in their most vulnerable states. Show it for a moment, move on. But I think everybody was kind of holding their breath saying, move.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Maycee Barber, please move something. This is scary.
Yeah, no, that was a scary moment there. And then in the main event, Joe Pyfer goes out there. He scores 102 points. I thought Izzy got off to a really good start in that matchup. And then the one thing that was really noticeable to me is it looked like two guys in two different weight classes. And then you just saw, it was the end of the first round where Joe gets a takedown. And then, of course, second round gets it. Just absolutely goes out there and dominates the action. You look at Joe and kind of, the rise. And now he is put in there. And Izzy, I don't even know where he goes from here. Demetrius Johnson came out and said he would tell him to retire. But look, it's an unfortunate part of this business that you don't go out on top the way you like to. So a great win there by Joe Pyfer. Of course, we do have a DraftKings contest already up for UFC Vegas 115. The link to that is in the description of this show, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on the podcast platforms. Also in the show description, you got the link to Pete's Patreon page. Pete, for people who are maybe checking us out for the first time, let them know what they can expect from your Patreon page.
Yeah, so on the Patreon page, it's just a nice little sheet that provides, the betting odds, the salaries, the career win percentage, the differences between the two, how active fighters are, my personal data projections, my personal pace ratings attached to fighters to really target fighters that go out there and have a high activity or high work rate. And then the collective fight pace. All the different advantages from youth advantage to height and reach advantages. And then the typical stats of takedowns per 15 minutes, how many takedowns we could be looking to target on the fighter props, laddering those, comparing them to their opponent's takedown defense and everything. So it's just a nice little sheet that I use as a resource when I'm live betting too. So it'll help me when I am like trying to target certain things, but it's mainly like, it's a DFS tool, but I've been using it more so for betting to see where I can get some edges on, significant strike counts and takedowns landed per the fight and all this and that. So, if you guys want to support it, I appreciate it. If you like it, I really, really appreciate it. But yeah, I should have that up later tonight or early tomorrow morning.
Hey, by the way, I did see where you're at last weekend.
Yeah, so I didn't even tell you this. So we can kind of talk about it, right? So I got a message from Bare Knuckle, somebody that I know that works within the Bare Knuckle team. And he has been really kind of like been their personal reporter and like being like traveling and all this and that on his own dime for a very long time. And it's the Mission Accomplished show. And he essentially has built a career from backing Bare Knuckle before they were even like across the United States or worldwide. And now I think that they've taken him and part of their team. So credit to him to kind of like Jason and I, we've been doing this podcast for, it's got to be 10 years now, I swear. And he finally got his break and signed with Bare Knuckle and continues to do it. He loves Bare Knuckle and all this and that. So long story short, I was asked to come and attend the Bare Knuckle event, which is in my hometown, and I went with my dad and my good friend, and I met with the matchmaker, and we had a little conversation about something, and I'm just listening. I'm just listening about a bunch of different things. Anytime people are at Mohegan Sun, they want me to be on the shows. I mean, I packed that arena. Jason's been there. The whole crowd is there supporting me. So I think it's a beneficial business move for people that when they come to Mohegan or come to New England that they try to contact me and other New England fighters. But yeah, I'm just listening, and I don't. Things would have to be too good to be true or too good for me to turn down for me to go that route, because I still think that I got plenty left in MMA or in kickboxing or karate combat, and it's not really my wheelhouse. I mean, like I have good hands, but I like kicking people in the face too much. So I think my first fight, I probably get disqualified. So
I will tell you, I saw a highlight of one of those KOs where the dude got knocked out and basically the rope saved him.
Oh, yeah. That was a beautiful knockout. It was brutal. It was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, as brutal as Alexa Grasso's KO was, that one was just as brutal to see just how that went down. But yeah, of course, bare knuckle. It seems like they're doing. I mean, it's almost like they're doing as many events as the UFC is doing, and they're packing houses across the country. I mean, that's one of the things that they're doing there in terms of that one. But of course, we are here to break down UFC Vegas 115. Let's get right into it. The main event, we got Renato Moicano taking on Chris Duncan. Moicano comes in here as a slight betting underdog. He is priced at $7,400 on DK, $14 on FanDuel. On the betting lines, he is plus 135. For Chris Duncan, he's priced at $8,800 on DK, $18 on FanDuel. He is a minus 165 betting favorite, of course. Pete, really, I think one of the storylines when we talk about this matchup is this is a matchup between two fighters out of American Top Team, both trained down there in Coconut Creek. Of course, one thing that I did learn is Mike Brown will be in the corner of Chris Duncan. That sticks out to me. But the one thing, obviously Renato Moicano has fought the top competition of this division. You look at his last two matchups. It's against a former lightweight champion, now the welterweight champion, 𝗚𝗲𝘁𝗲. And then his last matchup against Beneil Dariush, of course, didn't get the win, either one of them. But for me, Pete, it's about the step up in competition here for Chris Duncan, as he is. You look at his 4-fight winning streak: 𝗏𝗏, Vucinic, Ricci, and McKinney.
Yeah, I think that the careers are completely different. Obviously, you have the younger, dangerous Chris Duncan, who on paper has been absolutely smoking opponents. But if you go back and you watch the fight film, I mean, he's damn near losing the majority of these fights and having to work through it and having to deal with the adversity and come back. Super, super tough fighter. Chris Duncan is very talented, has good hands, has a very good guillotine choke as well. But like, I've been somewhat of a non-believer, to be honest. Like, truthfully, I feel like I've been picking against Chris Duncan quite an awful lot. And I think I don't know, man, because I just see the tendencies like from the Contender Series where against 𝗵𝗁 super hittable. He has success offensively, but he doesn't move his head all that great. He gets hit. He can be taken down. His answer to getting taken down is, relying on a guillotine choke, but it's the chin that's kind of giving me some worries about certain matchups. 𝗵𝗁 knocked him out. So he returns to the Contender Series. He takes on Charlie Campbell. Charlie Campbell is cracking him, beating him. And then Chris Duncan turns the tide with a shot and ends up knocking him out. So for me, like, if you go and you look at Chris Duncan's entire body of work in his career, you can see why I've been a little skeptical, because, I mean, I can see how somebody would light him up like a Christmas tree and just try to stay mobile and try not to get hit. On the flip side, we have Renato Moicano, who is winless in his past 2 fights, but those 2 fights are against Islam Makhachev and Beneil Dariush. So when I look prior to that, I go and I watch that Benoit Saint-Denis fight, the BSD fight, and honestly, I'm impressed, and I'm very surprised that that's what happened, because BSD is a mauler. He mauls people, and he goes out there and he throws heavy volume, really heavy kicks. But Moicano, countered that kick beautifully. Went immediately to a body lock, took him down, and then just from top position started raining unbelievable ground and pound on BSD, putting him in threatening positions for chokes, but really relying on his ground and pound, and beat him up so bad that the doctor ended up stopping it. So when I go and I look at these careers, this is do you believe that Moicano's officially done? I don't think that I can hold the loss to Islam Makhachev, that hard over his head. He did knock down Beneil Dariush and damn near finished Beneil Dariush in their fight, and then went to go to his grappling like he does in every fight, and he's an exceptional grappler. But Beneil Dariush was able to out-scramble and put him in worse positions and out-grapple him, and people underestimate Beneil Dariush's skill set, and I'm not one that's going to do so. Yes, Beneil's chin is gone, but his skills are still there. So Moicano losing to Dariush I don't really treat that as a horrible loss. I think that Moicano should have knocked him out and finished him because of how depleted, Dariush's chin is at this point. But I just think this is a misprice, truthfully. I think that the lines are a little too wide. obviously you look and you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 victories for Chris Duncan. He's 6-1 in his past 7 in the UFC. Only lost it to Manuel Torres. And when you watch that, Manuel Torres is predominantly a striker, very physical fighter. Decided to grapple and put Chris Duncan on his back with a very sloppy but powerful takedown. Took his back because Duncan has some tendencies about him and ended up choking him out. And I saw Duncan tap really quickly too. So that's a big strength disparity between those two. But I don't know, man. I just think that the odds are wrong here, and I'm willing to be wrong. And I've picked against Chris Duncan in most of these fights. I think I picked him to beat McKinney, but I'm pretty sure I picked 𝗵𝗵𝗁𝐻, Vucenic, 𝗚𝗐. Like 𝗚𝗐 was lighting him up as well. So I'm going to pick Renato Moicano, Jason. I really am. I think that there's a grappling edge, and I also think on the feet that Moicano can be cleaner and a little bit more efficient, because I remember when Moicano was outstriking Calvin Kattar. This is a long time ago, but Calvin Kattar is an exceptional striker. Duncan has the power to really put the lights out of Renato Moicano, but I think that the Moicano skill set overall can either lead to a decision, which is something that is 25 minutes is a very, very violent 25 minutes between these two. But I actually think that, he can put together a very good game plan to, outstrike him on the feet, get a takedown, take the back of Chris Duncan, and work towards a submission finish. So I think the grappling edge is a little bit too much, and the experience too. I'm going to go with the more proven versus higher level competition in Renato Moicano as a slight underdog here at 7,400.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I think about this, Pete, is, I do kind of wonder if Moicano does not able to utilize grappling. Can he get the job done here in this matchup? And you look at Moicano, I would tell you, I think when on the betting side, even though I think you look at that sub prop at plus 325, definitely sticks out to you. That decision prop at plus 700 is really the prop that sticks out to me with Renato Moicano in this matchup. But I do kind of wonder. I mean, this is the thing you really would love to know, truly, how often or ever have these guys sparred against each other in Coconut Creek, and how did that go? It's almost like
I listened to Chris Duncan talk about it, and he says that when he first got there, Moicano beat the shit out of him. Moicano took me down and ragdolled me and subbed me, and he was very, very honest about it. He says, but I'm not that guy now. I'm much better. I've improved, but I just think like the level of jiu-jitsu that Moicano possesses, everybody talks about it. What he did to BSD now, and this is like, I don't like to do MMA math, but when I'm looking at Benoit Saint-Denis and I'm comparing him to Chris Duncan, I think Benoit Saint-Denis has a better overall skill set than Chris Duncan, and I saw what Moicano was able to do to him. If Moicano gets top position or takes the back, I think it's curtains. It's just, does he get knocked out? Does he fall into the guillotine? He better not. 𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗁, who's going to be in Moicano's corner, will lose his mind if he gets submitted via guillotine against Chris Duncan.
Now, one of the craziest stories about this fight was, if people remember, the fight guy announced during a UFC broadcast, and Renato Moicano was doing a live stream, and he goes, wait, I haven't signed the contract yet.
I feel like the UFC does that often.
Oh yeah, it's very much a tactic they use.
Pressures you into signing it.
Exactly. It's exactly what they do. Unfortunately, it happens all the time in the UFC. Now, the co-main event will be a female matchup. Virna Jandiroba taking on Tabatha Ricci. Jandiroba comes in price at $7,900 on DK, $15 on FanDuel, a minus 130 betting favorite. Tabatha Ricci, she's priced at $8,300, $16 on FanDuel. She's at plus 105. Of course, the last time we saw Jandiroba was in that vacant title matchup against Mackenzie Dern. Lost that fight via decision. 6 of her last 7 fights have gone the distance. And you look at Tabatha Ricci, while 7 of her 10 UFC fights have gone the distance, Pete, she is coming off a stoppage victory against Amanda Ribas.
Yeah, I think the Amanda Ribas win is what's kind of making, or what made the DraftKings salaries, what they are. I mean, Tabatha Ricci sitting at 8,300, going up against Jandiroba, who's priced at 7,900. I mean, and when you look at the odds right now, Jandiroba is the favorite, sitting at minus 130. And I agree that Jandiroba should be the favorite. So the fact that she's priced as an underdog immediately pops out as extreme value on the slate. I mean, we know what Jandiroba is to this point. I mean, I picked her to beat Mackenzie Dern. And I think there's an argument for that, to be honest, because she scored 124 points in a loss to Mackenzie Dern. Obviously, the Achilles heel for Jandiroba is always going to be the striking and the striking defense. She had 9 takedowns in that 25-minute fight, 9 minutes of control time against one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in the world. And I have to tell you, like, Virna Jandiroba is unassuming. People tend to undervalue what she can bring to a fight, but she's damn good. I mean, she's 22-4 overall. Tabatha Ricci is 12-3, coming off one of the best performances of her career, stopping Amanda Hebos. And that caught me by surprise too, because I know that Tabatha Ricci overall has a good wrestling game, good jiu-jitsu, good elusive striking, and kind of pushes a pace. But I think, Jandiroba has been able to take almost everybody down that she's fought. And then when she didn't find a takedown was against Murata. She still won that fight via TKO. Granted, I believe that was due to an injury. But outside of that, I mean, Virna Jandiroba is pinning you against the cage and getting control time and working a takedown and having dominant jiu-jitsu to avoid getting subbed. So for me, I view this as a misprice as well. So I'm going back-to-back underdogs technically for DraftKings salaries, but even though Jandiroba is the favorite. And I know that the pace that Ricci will push on the feet can make people want to pick Tabatha Ricci. I just think like there's going to be more time where Virna Jandiroba closes the gap, pins her against the cage. I mean, she's having like almost 3 takedowns per 15 minutes. She's attempting almost 2 submissions per 15 minutes. She has good takedown defense herself, which nobody wants to take her down. And I just think that the massive edge between the grappling and submission chops of Virna Jandiroba are going to dictate where this fight takes place. Now, at space, I think the mobile Tabatha Ricci can kind of pitter-patter her way to a 15-minute decision. And maybe one of these days we'll start to see Tabatha Ricci, like, her hands be on display because of all the work with her boyfriend. But yeah, I'm going to go experience. I'm going to go the control time. I'm going to go the overall grappling and wrestling of Virna Jandiroba to kind of control and dictate where this fight takes place. And I think Virna Jandiroba is an excellent play at 7,900.
My only concern is just how popular she's going to be when we're talking about large field tournaments. I just feel that she's going to be very popular. I'm like you. I do like Virna Jandiroba to get the win here. I will tell you, man, the props on finishing in this fight are absolutely nuts. Ricci inside the distance, plus 1,200. Plus 1,600 by 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐿. Plus 2,000 via submission. On the Jandiroba side, plus 400 inside the distance, plus 2,250 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜, plus 425 submission. I mean, look, the odds are, the high probability is this thing's going to go 15 minutes. I think Jandiroba wins via decision in this one. And, but also, you bring up a lot of great points about Jandiroba if this thing stays on the feet. I think that's something you definitely have to have a concern with in terms of that one. Next up, we got our highest price fighter. It feels like it's been a long time since we've had a fighter price at $9,900. Abdul Rakman here at $9,900, $23 on FanDuel, and he is a minus 2,000 betting favorite, taking on Ribeiro, who's priced at $6,300 on DK, $9 on FanDuel. He's a plus 1,100 betting underdog here. Rakman won his UFC debut back in November. That was in 33 seconds. His last 4 fights have been in the first round. We look at Brenson Ribeiro on the other side. He's lost 2 straight, both in the first round. He's 2-4 in the UFC, and 3 of those 4 losses are via stoppage, Pete.
Yeah, I will tell you that Yakhyaev is a great spend up this week. I understand that the salary's crazy, but the way that this guy, comes out of the gate and he goes for a finish, his striking's very dangerous. His grappling's good too. He has very good wrestling and he has good submission skills. So he's going to need like a legitimate opponent to provide some resistance. Now, I do think that the odds are just crazy because this is a fist fight, and in MMA, I mean, you're talking about one mistake, a cut, a foul, disqualification can result in a loss. But outside of something fluky, I think that Yakhyaev rolls here. I think that there's a massive striking edge. And I also think in the grappling, you can look at what Ribeiro brings to the game, and his takedown defense is horrible. His submission skills, like offensively, Ribeiro is a dangerous fighter everywhere. Ribeiro is dangerous with his hands. He's dangerous with submission skills, but like defensively, you can kind of put it on him. And that's what I think what's going to happen here. In round one, it's round one or round two. I doubt it touches round two. It's just like, which way are you going to go? Are you going to say that a knockout occurs, or do you think a submission occurs? And if you go back and you watch, he was on his way to winning via knockout in his first victory in the UFC, and then eventually, latched up the neck. So I'm going to say that Yakhyaev ends up knocking him out. And I do think that this is a great fighter to include a part of most of your lineups. I know the salary is a little restrictive, but I do like some underdogs this week that I feel like the public may not. So whether it's via KO or submission, I think that you can pick and make a case for either one. But I'm going to say that he knocks out Ribeiro. I think he ends up hurting him really bad, follows up with some ground and pound, and the referee intervenes. So give me Yakhyaev via KO.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this just because of what we've seen Ribeiro in his UFC run. I mean, he's pretty much an X out for me this week when we're talking about the DF side. If I'm looking at the betting side of this equation, I mean, Yakhyaev minus 130 win by 𝗃𝐬 is actually not a bad prop. I would almost look at what is that wins via first round 𝗃𝐬, see maybe if you get a little bit of a better number, because I feel like the likely scenario is it's going to happen in the first round. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned about it. It's a high price tag, but he probably does go out there, and I think he's going to get above 100. I think, the question is what underdogs are you going to pair him with in terms of making that one happen? Next up, we got Ewing taking on Estevam. Ewing is the favorite here. He's minus 150. He is priced at $8,600 on DK, $17 on FanDuel. Rafael Estevam comes in here at $7,600 on DK, $13 on FanDuel. He's a plus 120 betting underdog here. Of course, Estevam moving up to the bantamweight division. Well, yeah, he's 3-0 in the UFC in the 125 division. We can put an asterisk next to that because two of those three fights he missed weight by 4 pounds in his last matchup here. But you look at Ewing, comes in short notice back in November, surprising upset there against Malcolm Wellmaker, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, Ethyn Ewing, my gosh, he really upset a hype train of Malcolm Wellmaker, and I think Wellmaker is very talented, but one that really relies on knocking people out early and has had much success with that. But he met his match with Ethyn Ewing, who's really slick on the feet. Defensively, offensively, he provides some danger too, and he can also get takedowns when he needs to. So Ethyn Ewing's a name to always pay attention to, and this fight I've gone back and forth on, to be honest. So I'm not I don't have a ton of conviction with this pick, but I'm going to say that, Ethyn Ewing has a ton of momentum and hype because he just beat a really hype prospect in Malcolm Wellmaker. And when that occurs, you think that's going to happen every time going forward. But if you go back and you watch some of the regional tape of Ethyn Ewing, you'll notice that he has some flaws too. He gets taken down and he can be put in bad positions. When he gets back to his feet, he is hunting for a finish. He is trying to knock his opponents out. When I look at his opponent in Rafael Estevam, and you go back and you watch his tape, and granted, he's coming from 125 pounds, really struggled to make that weight class. So I think this could benefit him and be a little beneficial where he's not depleted because of the weight cut, a little bit more towards his natural walk around weight. He seems to be strong enough, and perhaps it doesn't affect his cardio because he's not really killing himself to make 125 pounds. So seeing Rafael Estevam here, who's had 3 takedowns in his debut against Johnson, 11 takedowns against Aguilar, and 5 takedowns against Bunes, with control times of 9 minutes, 9 minutes, and 11 minutes, most recently against Bunes. I mean, that's like DraftKings gold. You know that, Jason. That's DraftKings gold. It's just, if Ethyn Ewing keeps the fight on the feet, I think Estevam's in trouble. because the combinations and the slickness and the footwork that Ethyn possesses can really give Estevam problems. My thing is I just don't think Ewing can keep Estevam off of him enough to really make the rounds count. Granted, damage is the most important, part of the scoring criteria. But I don't think it will completely outweigh what Estevam's going to do. And who knows, man? Estevam could take down he could take down Ewing, put him in a bad spot, and submit him. I mean, I've seen Ewing get submitted by a heel hook. So like, granted, that's some time ago, but I think the price tag is, I expected this to be 8,200, 8,000, truthfully. I can make a case for Ewing. I think that the story, the fact that he came out of literally nowhere to beat Malcolm Wellmaker is amazing, and that's one of the best and biggest upsets we've had in some time. But the betting odds seem to be a little wrong here. I was kind of expecting Estevam to be the slight favorite, just because of the unknowns of him going up. But yeah, I'm gonna side with Rafael Estevam. I just think that I think the takedowns are going to be a little too much because Estevam's a high volume wrestler. He's not just like a grappler. You know what I mean? Like, he's very, very talented. So I'm going to go with him because, a ton of attempts will just keep Ewing against the cage or on the mat. And I think it'll be enough. And the price tag seems to be broken.
I want to see what Estevam looks like on the scale and how in comparison, I mean, moving up from 25 now to 35, I mean, is he truly, in a bantamweight body, or is this someone that is unfortunately stuck between two weight classes where really can't make 25, but some of these 35ers are big boys in terms of that weight class. So that's one of the things that I'm looking to see in terms of that one. Next up, we got McMillen taking Manolo. Manolo, one of the biggest underdogs on this one, a plus 800 betting underdog. Price at $6,400 DK, $8 on FanDuel. McMillen price at $9,800 DK, $24 on FanDuel. He is a 13-1 betting favorite. This will be Tommy's UFC debut, one back on the Contender Series back in September. He is a training partner of Sean O'Malley's, and he definitely has taken the Sean O'Malley approach to promoting this one. The one thing is, Pete, you sit there, you break down the film. It's kind of hard when we're sitting here. It's April 2026, and one fighter, the overwhelming underdog in this one, hasn't fought since 2023.
Yeah, I mean, definitely issues, right? I think that Tommy McMillen being priced at $9,800 for DraftKings salary is extremely high. And I also think that Manolo Zecchini priced at $6,400 is extremely low. I mean, there are unknowns surrounding both of these fighters. The time off, the layoff, what has Manolo Zecchini been doing? I know that he's been putting in a ton of work and training and trying to be a part of a stable, strong gym, looking to spoil the UFC debut of Tommy McMillen, who has a ton of hype surrounding him, in a very exciting Dana White's Contender Series fight, absorbing a ton of damage, but pushing through, showing that he can deal with the adversity and put together a fantastic performance. I think the odds are a little wide, but I do favor Tommy McMillen because of, who he's, yes, Sean O'Malley. Like, you can't compare these guys to the one percenters that surround them all the time. But I do think that Tommy McMillen's pretty damn good. It's just extremely hittable, and the damage he took on the Contender Series is worrisome. Zecchini, 6,400, losing to Morgan Charrier in round one. I mean, it was a very quick fight, and I wasn't big on Zecchini in that fight. He was priced at 7,100. I don't think 6,400's I think that's a little too low. I mean, this is a fist fight. Anything can happen. And you do see what, you remember what we saw in the Contender Series with McMillen. McMillen will push a very high pace, pretty effective with his offense. And then if you're comparing the UFC stats, you'll look at Manolo Zecchini and you'll say, well, he's extremely inefficient and absorbed a ton of strikes, but that's largely due to the small sample size. It's completely overblown. So, I do think that there is an edge clearly for McMillen to have a path to victory in multiple ways. I think that he can hit him pretty hard, hurt him a little bit, mix in takedowns, look for a finish. But, Yeah, I'm going to say that McMillen, he's a little bit bigger. I think that the overall, the unknown surrounding Manolo Zecchini, I'm just not there. I just don't believe that the salaries are appropriate for either one. I'm going to side with Tommy McMillen, but I will tell you that I like some other high-priced options. I'd much rather target Yakhyaev, truthfully. I mean, like, I know what I'm getting out of Yakhyaev when I'm looking at the Tommy McMillen fights and I'm seeing, what happened on the Contender Series. I'm going to pull it up right now. And now he's fighting an unknown, not an unknown guy, but a guy in Manolo Zecchini who has some unknown commodities about him. It worries me a tiny bit. I mean, when I'm looking at the stats, Tommy McMillen got rocked. He didn't get knocked down, but he got rocked multiple times in that fight. But he threw with tremendous volume, landed 119 of 227 significant total strikes, and just really won the crowd over and won Dana White's approval over. So I'm going to go with the bigger guy who's 6 feet tall, in Tommy McMillen over 5'8". Manolo Zecchini hasn't been active in quite some time, even though he's been putting work in. And I believe he's a part of Jackson Wink or something like that. But yeah, I'm going to go with Tommy McMillen, but I think the salaries are a little crazy.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's about paying off that price tag at 9,800. I mean, and I think you're spot on that you'd rather just go up $100 more and get the Abdul Rahman in terms of that situation. Next up, we've got another 9,000 fighter, and this is a fighter making his UFC debut, Jose Delano, a fighter that went 6-1 in LFA, won back on the Contender Series back in August. He enters here as a 3-1 betting favorite, priced at 9,200 DK, $20 on FanDuel, taking on the former KSW interim featherweight champion who lost his debut back in September, Pete.
Yeah, I think that 𝗵𝗵 is, when you go back and you watch that William Gomes fight, I mean, this guy's a gamer. And, getting 2 takedowns, having 5 minutes of control time, scoring 35 in a loss to William Gomes. I think William Gomes is solid. He's had some spectacular performances. He's had some duds, but I think all in all, he's a talented fighter. Jose Delano on the other side is man, I was impressed. I was definitely impressed by how smooth he looked. Pretty remarkable efficiency. I mean, elite level, good volume as well. And then when you compare it to what we've seen in 𝗵𝗁's debut, I mean, 𝗵𝗁's debut, he's a little low volume, lower efficiency. I think that, when you compare the stats, there's a big gap between the striking. And I think that Delano will double, triple up the volume if it goes that long over 𝗵𝗁. The defensive skills of Delano are superior, the efficiency, and we just have to worry about 𝗵𝗁 looking to wrestle. But, I mean, in the Gomes fight, you saw that 𝗵𝗁 isn't all that efficient in the wrestling department. And I just think on the feet, you're going to see Delano kind of lighting them up and putting together a very smooth, suave type of performance. And I was impressed. And a lot of times it's like the subtle movements or the feints and the fakes and the defensive skills and the footwork that I'm looking at. And not so much like quick finishes. I'm less impressed with quick finishes and more impressed with 15-minute displays of their skill. And that's what we saw. I mean, Manuel Esposito went out there and, landed 38 significant strikes, 2 takedowns. Within those 2 takedowns, he only had 39 seconds of control time. He attempted 5 of them. So we saw Jose Delano defend some takedowns, even attempt his own. But you ended up seeing Jose Delano landing 146 of 222 significant strikes. So, I mean, a lot of times it's your dance partner who can make you look good or make you look bad. And in that performance, Jose Delano impressed me. And anytime somebody goes 15 minutes, I get more time to evaluate their skills. So I'm gonna be picking Jose Delano. I like these guys that are a little tested and aren't quick finishers where it's like, okay, if they don't find the finish, I don't know how they're going to look. I liked what I saw from Delano. So at 9,200, I like him quite a bit.
I mean, that's a great point that you bring up, especially when you talk about younger fighters that, if they go out there and, they get quick wins. And, that's why I always For me, it's always a big thing of looking at not only who they fought getting to the UFC, the promotion that they're fighting in, because there's some promotions that, to me, they just give you a better level of competition. I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with the regional scene where, hey, you're a ticket seller and we're going to put you in a fight that makes the most sense for all parties involved. But organizations like LFA and Fury FC, because we're going to talk about a Fury FC fighter later on the show, to me, those I put a lot of weight in those matchups just because of who they're going to go out there and make. Next up, we have got 𝗑𝐢𝐬𝐵 who comes in here. This is a straight up pick 'em -110 on both sides. Taking on Thomas Peterson. Of course, Peterson been in the UFC for a while here. This is your A200 8,000 fight. 𝗑𝐢𝐬𝐵 is at A200. Peterson at 8,000. Over on FanDuel, Pat is at $16. Peterson comes in here at $15. 𝗑𝐢𝐬𝐵 did win his UFC debut at the end of last year. That win against Alan Fry Jr. And for Thomas Peterson, if you're believing in trends, Pete, the trends will tell you he's going to win. Because if you look at his UFC run, loss, win, loss, win, loss.
Yeah, well, hey, I like hearing that because I find this fight to be extremely difficult. And it's pretty binary, right? It's if it remains on the feet, then 𝗑𝐢𝐬𝐵 should be efficient and be the cleaner striker, possibly hurt or knock out Thomas Peterson. If Thomas Peterson's able to get his wrestling going, then he should be able to dictate, keep him against the cage, keep him on the mat. He's a legitimate wrestler, very good control. And this is what's making this so difficult for me because like 𝗑𝐢𝐬𝐵 has, elusive striking, solid footwork for the division, and he can hit without being hit. And we've seen Thomas Peterson get hurt multiple times, coming off a devastating knockout defeat. So it's like, all right, well, that was back in October. How is he doing? But he did go 3 rounds with Vitor Petrino. So, I mean, it's not like it happened in the first round like it did against 𝗑𝐲ev. But 𝗑𝐲ev is a monster. So, and granted, that was back in February of 2025. So, I don't know, man. I think that sometimes when people get knocked out, they expect them to get knocked out like it's just such an easy button to hit. To a point when people have absorbed so much damage, that off switch is a little bit easier. But going 3 rounds with Vitor Petrino and then getting absolutely smoked, at least he went 3 rounds. And then I also know that could make Thomas Peterson go out there and look to wrestle even more, which is his true path to victory, right? Like, it's like, all right, well, your coaches are going to tell you like, hey, man, you lost that fight because you didn't get a takedown. You attempted 6 of them in round 1 against Vitor Petrino, which I find to be awesome. When I see 6 takedowns attempted in a round, that's awesome. I would much rather him land 6 takedowns. He went 0 for 6. And then in round 2, he went 0 for 2. But sometimes he's like, fighters don't even need to land the takedowns. They just need to attempt them to put you against the cage to kind of control you there for a little bit. And I worry about 𝗑𝐢𝐬𝐵 if Peterson's able to keep him against the cage because according to UFC stats, he has 0% takedown defense, but it's mainly because inside the UFC, he hasn't fought anybody who's looking to take him down at this level yet. I don't think anybody on the regional scene wanted to stand with 𝗑𝐢𝐬𝐵 all that much, but I think Peterson can have some success. And I've seen 𝗑𝐢𝐬𝐵 get held against the cage in a couple fights for moments, and I just know that Peterson is a very big guy. On the feet, there's a clear disparity of skill. 𝗑𝐢𝐬𝐵 is the more efficient, cleaner striker, good footwork, should, pitter-patter or completely outclass Peterson on the feet. But if he doesn't knock him out, Peterson's striking is solid enough to respect it. And against the cage and in the grappling, there's just some unknowns. And these unknowns of having of no attempts, thrown your way inside the UFC banner, going up against a guy in, Peterson who's averaging 3.71 takedowns per 15 minutes. I mean, he's a good wrestler, a big guy. Attempted 6 takedowns against Vitor Petrino. So for me, like, the taller guy is 𝗑𝐢𝐬𝐵, but the smaller, stockier, stronger guy will be Peterson. So he cannot stay on the outside. If he stays on the outside, he's going to get absolutely smoked. I view this as a slight lean, not a conviction play, but I'm going to be picking an underdog yet again in Thomas Peterson to pull off a decision here. I think the wrestling will end up winning him minutes and moments and be enough to get his hand raised. But again, if you have conviction over 𝗉𝐬𝐵𝐵, I don't blame you. But I'm going to pick Peterson here.
I think, to me, if it's a cash game contest, I don't mind getting Thomas Peterson. Don't love him in GPPs just because of a fighting style. Now, if you tell me I got a roster GPP in this fight, I think it's 𝗉𝐬𝐵𝐵. But I also do understand he could just get grapple left.
Yeah.
And just not score. And that's just my concern of the matchup. And it's always been with Thomas Peterson of just ultimately what truly is that fantasy score upside for him. And when we're trying to get to 600, 650 points, I just, when I look at Thomas Peterson, I just don't see that.
I mean, I will counter that with he had a 15-minute fight that he won against Usman, which he scored 76, which would not break the slate, right? That would be just like, there's probably better underdogs. But he did face Don'Tale Mayes, and he landed 9 takedowns in 14 minutes and 49 seconds of control time, and he scored 126. So when I see that, I mean, it's clearly a binary fight, striker versus wrestler here. That is a possibility, but that would be crazy. I mean, he broke the slate that day. He was priced at 8,900. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a very difficult fight to break down.
Love you touting up low-level UFC heavyweights.
Low level.
I just love how
they're all the same.
Yeah, I love.
They're all the same. I mean, just drawing straws over here.
Sam, appreciate the super chat there. We'll definitely answer your question here at the end of the show. Let's move over to our next matchup. We got Casa taking on Stuart Nicolai. Nicolai is a plus 300 betting underdog here, priced at 6,900 DK, $11 on FanDuel. Alessio Costa, he is priced at 9,300, $20 on FanDuel, a minus 425 betting favorite. He's coming off a loss in September against Aiden Cora. 4 of his 5 UFC fights have ended by 𝗃𝐬𝐬𝐜𝐿. For Stewart, 0-2 in the UFC, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why Jason's zooming in on my face. I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, I like this fight, and I like this fight a lot for Alessandro Costa, to be honest. I mean, Stuart Nickel is a guy that, for whatever reason, has just not had success inside the UFC. And guess what? It's because the best fighters in the world belong under this banner. And, in international talent, I thought that he was going to come in here priced at 9,000 against Aguilar and take him to Takedown City. But guess what? He got guillotined and finished in round 1. And then priced at 7,700 against Rocha. He landed 2 takedowns, had 2.5 minutes of control time, but was outworked and beaten over 15 minutes, scoring only 30 points. And now he's going up against Alessandro Costa, who is good everywhere. I mean, not a high volume guy. He's efficient. He's strong in the striking, has very good power. He's got better defense than whatever Stuart Nickel possesses standing, even on the mat, submission wise. I think that the offensive takedowns and the grappling threat that Costa possesses, he's really good in all areas. And we've seen Nickel get compromised when he's looking to take people down. And then on the feet, he's compromised as well. So I honestly think that this is an exceptional experience. He will outstrike Nickel pretty cleanly. He can defend takedowns if Nickel's looking to take him down. He can also capitalize on the feet, hurting Nickel, following him up with ground and pound, or putting him in a compromising situation on the mat en route to ground and pound or submission. So for me, I mean, I really like Alessandro Costa, but at this weight class, this is a very competitive weight class, and any of these underdogs can come through because of how closely skilled they are. But for me, I think that Alessandro Costa is just better everywhere, to be honest.
The price point is what really concerns me in this position. By the way, I have no idea how it just automatically zoomed in on your face. I really have no idea. I'm like,
I know, yeah. Jason's messing with me, dude.
I wish I had a why it happened, but yeah, no idea. It just kind of happened here. To me, it's just a price point. This one that concerns me. And the next matchup is another one that concerns me. Lando Venado, Darius Flowers, Lando Venado, a minus 240 betting fair price at 8,900 DK, $18 on FanDuel. Darius Flowers price at 7,300 DK, $12 on FanDuel, a plus 185 betting underdog here. Venado, first time we see him since 2023, which was a decision loss against Daniel Zellhuber. Overall in the UFC, Lando Venado 4-7-2. Darius Flowers 0-3 in the UFC. First fight since 2024. There certainly is definitely a path for Lando Venado here. I just don't know if he takes it, Pete.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll lace up those wrestling shoes like I think he should. This fight, if you're betting on this fight, man, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't know why. I haven't actually did a deep dive to see why Lando's been MIA for quite some time. I don't know. So maybe chat can inform me. I haven't been paying attention to that. I'm going off of fight film and what we've seen, inside the octagon. And granted, it's years ago. But I do think that there's a striking edge to Lando Venado, despite not being in the cage, in quite some time. I also think that there's a small wrestling and grappling edge for Lando Venado. He has the experience in fighting much more UFC level competition, whereas, Flowers has been more active lately, having no success. But all in all, within their careers, I trust what Lando's done inside the octagon more than what Flowers has done. I think that the experience could shine through here, but this is all dependent on what Venado's been doing. And I haven't done the social media dive. I will do that tonight. I haven't done that for Venado. I don't even know if he's still a part of Greg Jackson's camp. I would imagine he is. But yeah, I think that he can, win the striking exchanges against Flowers. Flowers to me just does not impress me. I've never thought he's UFC level at all. He's just a gamer. He's a guy that, accepted a fight, got an opportunity, credit to him. But I think that Lando, he's groovy for a reason. He's the same guy that almost beat Tony Ferguson on a day or a week or a couple days notice. And, he's had remarkable knockouts. I mean, spin a hook kick over John McDessie. And he's put together some good some good performances. And it's not like he really has to worry about what Flowers brings to the table. Venado's been subbed in the past because he's left his neck out there. I don't really see Flowers doing that. I think that, Venado's, wise to anything on the feet. The only thing that could happen is just not being acclimated to the cage could catch up. And next thing you know, Venado's just not even close to who he used to be. Or how about the flip side? Maybe he's better. Maybe he's taken these years and been focusing on his game. But yeah, so what I'll say is I think that he outvolumes Darius Flowers. I think that he can mix in occasional wrestling. And I also think he'll be the consistent minute winner. So I'm going to be picking Lando Venado, but zero conviction here. I'd much rather just skip the fight if I was allowed to.
Matt in the chat said there's certainly a why to this fight. There's definitely something to that one. And I mean, this is just, there's a clear path for Virna. It's just whether ultimately he is going to take that or not. Next up, we got a matchup between Elyse Pereira and Haley Conan. Elyse comes in here as a 135 betting favorite, price at $8,400 DK, $16 on FanDuel. Haley Conan, price at $700 DK, $14 on FanDuel, plus 110 betting underdog. When you look at Elyse, only 20 years old, made her UFC debut last year, split decision loss against Rendon. Really, God, I mean, how nice should I be here? Awful strength of competition in her way up to the UFC. And I think you could certainly make the case of maybe should have taken some more fights outside the UFC before getting into the UFC. Her other side, Haley, she's 0-2 in the UFC, and this is her first fight in a year, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, golly. I mean, a 19-year-old girl debuting 19-year-old anything should be a red flag. Like 19-year-olds debuting in the UFC, 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds. Like, this is very difficult, and these anomalies that can have success come around like once in a blue moon. But for the most part, they are inexperienced. They were untested on the regional scene, and they are getting an opportunity because of the lack of depth within the division. And that's exactly what happened with Alex Pereira. I mean, like, for the most part, most people thought that she was, Alex Pereira's sister. That's not even the correct one. That's not even the correct Pereira sister. But on the feet, she's very aggressive. She didn't really go out there and impress me in her debut, but if you watch her regional tape, she throws very sloppy. Like, she's very sloppy, but long-ranged attacks. She will be a little bit bigger than Hailey Cohen, and Cohen on the flip side has never impressed me inside the UFC. Much more of an athlete than a fighter, and we see that from time and time again, where it's like, okay, like, they're super athletic, but does that translate to fighting? It translates to almost every other sport, but fighting is a completely different animal. And for Hailey Cohen, I mean, her best path to beating people is wrestling, putting her opponents against the cage, trying to control them as best as she can, landing a takedown on the feet. I don't think that she's all that great. I mean, she could throw up some occasional good kicks, but I think that she's very hittable. I think that her striking defense needs work. I mean, like, I just think that her striking defense could actually, give her some problems in this matchup, because even though Pereira will, be low volume at times, when she throws, she's aggressive, and she's definitely the better defensive striker. So on the feet, I favor Pereira significantly. When it comes to the grappling, I think that Rendon, attempting takedowns on Pereira is inadequate comparison, but I do think that Cohen is a little bit stronger on top, I think that Rendon attempting 5 takedowns and Pereira shutting him down is huge. So I'm going to be going with Alice Pereira here. And the reason I'm going Alice Pereira is I think that she's a little too big for Hailey Cohen. I don't think that Hailey's going to be able to bully her against the cage. And I just think that she'll use her reach. She'll avoid some of the big Hail Mary shots that Cohen will throw up, and she'll keep it on the feet and win some of these low volume striking exchanges. And I'm going to pick Pereira to get back into the win column. And Cohen, even though she's a part of Extreme Couture, just really has never impressed me.
Yeah, I'm with you in terms of that as well. I just think that, it's not a fight that I would say I sit there and necessarily love in terms of DFS. And, a lot of it really comes down to Elise of, whether or not that, she just has kind of, she's a young fighter. She's a developing fighter. And, I think me and you have talked about this a ton throughout the years of sitting there and, sometimes, and look, and part of it is the MMA industry, that fighters just get to the UFC a little too soon. And, I use the example of Yusuf Zalal all the time.
Yeah.
Guy had a very tough road coming into the UFC. All of a sudden, exits UFC, gets some more fights, and comes back, and now the guy's top 15 in his weight class. So,
Moreno, too.
Yeah, that's another great example in terms of that one. Next up, we got 𝗲𝗲 taking on Tresean Gore. Gore, a plus 475 betting underdog, price of 6,700 DK, $10 on FanDuel. Băcoev is priced at 9,500 on DK and $21 on FanDuel. Băcoev is coming off that loss against Bulgari. Both of his UFC wins have come in the first round against Reese and Loder. Gore, 2-4 in the UFC. He did miss weight in his last fight, which was a decision loss against Rodolfo Vieira, and both of his UFC wins have come via decision, Pete.
This fight is going to be chaotic, and the reason why I think it's going to be chaotic is because both of these guys offensively are dangerous, but defensively are so flawed. I think that Băcoev and Tresean Gore are very hittable, and I think that they're going to go out there and trade. And whenever you see significant strikes, be careful. They can get knocked out at any point, and it could lead to possible like a 15-minute war. And I know people don't want to hear that, but I actually think that if 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝐻𝑒v doesn't go out there and wrestle or look to control Tresean Gore, and doesn't look to kind of just like stall out for moments, and this becomes a kickboxing matchup, we got to be careful here. I think that 𝗁𝘁𝑒v should be the significant favorite. I think that he's clearly better. He has very good volume and control. Gore has some good efficiency to him. He will threaten with guillotine chokes. He can also wrestle himself, and I think Tresean Gore is another fighter that got into the sport or into the UFC a little too early and should have taken more fights outside the UFC before he had this opportunity on The Ultimate Fighter and so on and so forth, because he seems to be a little green compared to the fighters he's going up against. The disparity in experience is significant here, and 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝑒v should win this fight, but it's all about how he chooses to fight. I think that he can clearly land multiple takedowns, put Tresean Gore in controlling positions, avoid little guillotine attempts from Tresean Gore. But if this remains on the feet, Tresean can land some big shots in chaotic exchanges, and this could turn into like, oh my gosh, they both dropped each other. Now we're going into round 3, and it's like, all right, well, if you had the -3.5 on 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝑒v, I haven't even looked to see what the line is. It might not even be 3.5, but you're kind of at the edge of your seat. And that's the striking defense is so poor that I wouldn't put him in a parlay, even though this looks like this should be a very easy fight for 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝑒v. I don't think he's going to go out there and do what Marco Tulio did. I'm going to pick 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝑒v. I think this is going to be a war, but I'm just saying, be careful. Be careful, because I would much rather just say fight ends via KO, because that's kind of how I see this fight going. I think it's going to be chaos.
The one thing that would concern me if I am a 𝗁𝘁𝑒v backer, fight hits minute 6.
That's what I'm saying, man. That round like that 1.5 line and up, I think that's when Gore can actually start to kind of turn the tide if he's still alive.
Yeah, I mean, very well. I mean, we talk about this all the time about live betting MMA, and this could very easily be a situation where 𝗁𝘁𝑒v gets off to an amazing start. Gore survives a 5-minute flurry, and you maybe just throw a little sprinkle on Tresean Gore. I mean, I'm not a big Tresean Gore backer. Let me just say that. I'm not a backer of him, but I do see the concerns with 𝗁𝘁𝑒v. But I mean, look, he could very easily go out there and starch Tresean Gore in 2 minutes, and everything we talk about minute 6 means absolutely nothing. But I think 𝗁𝘁𝑒v, to me, it's always a concern of what is going to happen if the fight does get out of the first round. Next up, we got a female matchup. 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝑒v taking on 𝗮𝗲. 𝗮𝗲 is a 7,700 DK, $13 on FanDuel, plus 105 betting underdog. 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝑒v is priced at 8,500 on DK, $16 on FanDuel. She's a -130 betting favorite. She is coming off a loss in August against Karine Silva. She's 2-2 in the UFC. 3 of her 4 UFC fights have gone the distance. Melissa 𝗮𝗲 3-2 in the UFC, coming off a win against Vidal. And kind of an interesting stat here, people, when we talk about women's MMA. All 3 of her UFC wins are via 𝐃𝐬𝐜𝐿.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I find that to be odd, because like, women finding finishes happens at a lower rate than in the male divisions, for sure. And Melissa 𝗮𝗲, for whatever reason, is finding 2nd or 3rd round KO TKOs, which, I mean, maybe it's about the strength of competition. I mean, the debut against Victoria Leonardo, I mean, it's definitely because of that. Sijara Eubanks, I believe that was a front kick to the midsection, if I remember correctly. So a little soft and susceptible to body shots, but she ended up pulling that one off. It's not like, it was a true knockout, but she knocked her down. And then the KO TKO over Vidal. And it's just like, all right, well, I mean, they're wins and they're finishes, but, I don't view any of those wins the same as Barboza's, most recent loss to Karine Silva. I think that Karine Silva is dangerous. And the fact that Barboza didn't get finished by Karine Silva, who is one of the best finishers in women's MMA, very good guillotine choke, very good power, I thought was admirable. And it showed that Deonna Barboza can go 15 minutes against a legitimate competition, have 3 takedowns and 5 minutes of control. And I think on the feet, for as long as this remains standing, you have to favor 𝗮𝗁 to a point. She'll have a little bit higher output, a little bit more pressure to her, a little bit more selection for Deonna Barboza, lower volume, a little bit more efficiency, better defense. So I still will give a slight edge to 𝗮𝗁 with her aggressiveness, but I mean, Barboza's been making strides on the feet, and she's looking really good, like on the pads, and even in like she's throwing spinning elbows. She looks really, really good. The grappling and the wrestling and the throws and the trips, I think, is where the difference is going to be, and it is in Barboza's style. Very good judo. She also possesses some high submission attempts as well. So, I mean, if you're looking at her stats, she's attempting 1.9 submission attempts per 15 minutes. That is really high. So I would be careful picking this fight to go 15 minutes, even though I know that Melissa Gatto is a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Just the pressure, the back takes, the arm bars, just everything that Deonna Barboza possesses, I think that she could end up finding a submission finish because of how often she's hunting them. I think that the grappling edge for Barboza is enough to give her higher finishing upside, more control time, winning moments in minutes. So yeah, I view this fight as a very, very close fight, and one that I don't like plant with like true conviction. I will say that Barboza will probably get the fight to the ground, and as long as she gets the fight to the ground, she can control her a little bit, possibly find a submission. But if not, it's just the controlled position to win rounds and bank minutes. So I'm going to go with Deonna Barboza, but it's a very slight lean, nothing with a ton of conviction. I think this is an excellent matchup, and I'm excited to see both of them come out here and fight.
Yeah, I mean, I lean 𝗮𝗁 in this matchup. By the way, something to mention here. So we do the show here live on a Friday afternoon. Weigh-ins currently going on. We have 3 fighters who have missed weight to this point. Darius Flowers missed weight by a half pound. He initially weighed at 157. Second attempt, 156.5. Okay. Rafael Estevam has missed weight.
No way, dude.
He weighed in 136.5, and also Abdul Rakman has also come in heavy, weighing 207. So we'll see when those fighters step on the scale to see if they're able to make weight. They have 40 minutes to make weight.
I hate it when you see the fighters move up in weight and then miss weight. It's like, oh, what are you doing? I mean, he probably packed on more weight and muscle. He's just probably reliant on this mindset that he has to be a weight bully, and he doesn't have to.
Yeah,
he's so skilled.
It's also one of those things. The fact of there's a scale in the back that you step on first.
Yeah.
So like you already know you're not on weight. Like those are times when I see that stuff that I sit back and I just go. So if you already know you're not on weight, what's the point of even stepping on the scale if you're not going to go back to cutting weight?
Because you don't. You're dumb.
Yeah,
because these guys just want an advantage, or they mentally quit on the weight cuts all the time.
Yeah. And then our opening fight of the night is actually a matchup that came together, I want to say it was like Sunday or Monday, when this fight got added. It is the UFC return of 𝗂𝗂 III, getting his second opportunity in the UFC, most recently fighting in Tough Enough, prior to that fighting for PFL and Bellator, taking on 𝗂𝗂, who is making his UFC debut. 𝗂𝗂 priced at 𝐴700 DK. There's no salaries on this fight over on FanDuel. 𝗂𝗂, a -150 betting favorite. 𝗂𝗂 is priced at 7,500. He is a +125 betting underdog. I mean, 𝗂𝗂, I'll tell you this. I mean, I've had a lot of great conversations with 𝗂𝗂 over the years. Just a great dude. I mean, look, if you're going to put, and when we're talking about the DFS side of this, Pete, you got to mention, he is a decision machine. It doesn't matter to the organization. He has just been a decision machine throughout his career. Hope making his UFC debut. He is a product of that Fury FC system, but I don't know how much I really love him in the spot.
Yeah, I will tell you that. I think personally, I love 𝗏𝗏. Like, I think that he's very good. For whatever reason, you just start to like people. And I think that he is a pretty high volume striker, hittable at times, which I don't like. Definitely has fought the higher level of competition, obviously inside the UFC. He's used to this. He's had 4 fights in the UFC against Tony Kelly, against Pierce, Brown, and Chavez. And, the only success he found was in his debut against Kelly, where he was able to utilize his wrestling, pick up 5 takedowns in 5 minutes of control time. He's had a ton of control time in other fights, 6 minutes and 4 minutes. But for the most part, he allows his opponents to work into the fights a little too much, which I wish he would go out there and impose his will. I think that Kai's good. I think that he throws good combinations. He's not a dominant force by any means, but he's got, solid output, solid accuracy. Just cannot be sitting there waiting for a receipt. Like, I don't want him to get to get hurt, because Dakota Hope can hit really, really hard. I think the grappling and the wrestling and just being well-rounded and kind of being unsuspecting and mixing things together is the best way to defeat a UFC debutant. So I think Dakota Hope hits hard, but I've also seen Dakota Hope get knocked down, and I've also seen Dakota Hope be in some wars and be on his back. And I look at that and I'm like, all right, man, like I was already skeptical about you, and now I've seen 𝗏𝗏 fight 4 times in the UFC, seen him fight over in Bellator and PFL, and have a split decision to Brendan Loughnane, and pick up a win over Bubba Jenkins, I believe. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to be backing 𝗏𝗏 here. I don't care about his success back in 2020 and his failures in 2021 inside the UFC. I don't care about that. I think that in 2026, he's going to come in here like a veteran. He's fought under the big major promotions. He's fought in PFL and Bellator and, in the UFC. So for me, I'm going to be backing 𝗏𝗏, but to Jason's point at 8,700, it's just like, it's a moderate edge, huge experience gap. But I think that the odds are right. I'm picking him to win a decision here. I think he'll outvolume him, mix it all up, win minutes consistently, and spoil the UFC debut for Dakota Hope.
Yeah, it's a lot of great points that you bring up there. Of course, if you got any questions, be sure to line those up in chat. Right now, we're going to talk about our straight-up fight picks in this one, main event. I'm going to go with the favorite in Chris Duncan.
I am going Renato Moicano.
From a DFS aspect, this would be an underdog pick, but the betting odds, she's actually not the favorite, Virna Jandiroba.
Yeah, Jandiroba for me.
I'll go Abdul Rakman, even though we'll see.
Yakhyaev for me.
We'll see if he ultimately makes weight. I'm gonna go Ewing, but we could have a weight bully.
Yeah, I think we got a weight bully. I'm going Estevam.
Give me McMillen. I'll go Delano. Give me Peterson. That'd be another DraftKings underdog, technically.
Yep. I'll go Peterson as well.
I'll go Costa.
Don't
feel good about it. I'll go Venata.
I hate it, but I'm going Venata.
Give me another underdog in 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿.
Okay, I'm going to go Pereira.
I'll go
𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗏.
Give me another underdog in 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿.
Okay, I'm on the opposite side. I'm going Barboza.
And finally, I go with 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝘁.
𝗏𝗏𝘁𝘁 for me.
So mention super chat we got here earlier from Sam. Highest leverage at each salary tier, takedown, king and queen. So when you look at the leverage, so if you look at the 9,000 range, we've got 4 fighters. And, you know, and 2 of those fighters are one's priced at 9,800, the other's priced at 9,900. Why do I look at Costa as the leverage play in this time in this period, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, I think naturally because it's a lighter weight class, people think that is a little too expensive. I would agree that he's expensive. I will probably, I mean, I haven't looked at ownership or anything, but anytime somebody's making their UFC debut, you could possibly be ahead of everybody who's a little too, you know, standoffish. So that could be both Tommy McMillen or Delano. I'm going to say Delano personally, but I think either one of those could definitely be an answer. But I do like the Alessandro Costa call. I like him a lot in this fight.
Now, when we look at the 8,000 range, so we've got 9 fighters in this range. There's a couple that stick out to me, Pete. I mean, I think Kamak at 8,700, Barbosa 8,500, Pereira 8,400, and probably, even though I don't like him in terms of a GPP, Thomas Peterson. I think those are all kind of fighters that will probably be in the low end of in terms of ownership.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, anytime that you can find a decision machine in like a Kai Kamaka, where people like are like almost certain of how they're going to win, and you think that they're going to win the fight pretty handily, I think that he could be in a very interesting spot, even though like historically he's not been a good DFS player, but he's shown moments that he could, and he's been fighting higher competition. So I think that Kai Kamaka would be the selection for me, even though it may be an unpopular one.
When you look in the 7,000 range, I think Jandiroba would be very popular. But when I look in this section, I mean, obviously someone like a Darius Flowers, Ricci at 7,000, I think is another one that I would look to. I mean, Moicano's going to have ownership. I think you got to look at probably at 7,300 and 7,000 in this range.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a ton of ownership in here. It's, I'm seeing just misprices on like 3 different fights. I see a misprice on Jandiroba. I see a misprice on Estevam and Moicano. And I know that they're all probably going to be extremely, extremely popular. But I'm willing to take shots on all 3 of those. So it'd probably come down to Moicano or Estevam, to be honest.
In the 6,000 range, I'll be honest with you, the only one I'd want to get to is 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not a Ribeiro guy. Zecchini, not really. Nickel, no. 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗀, and I don't like it either, but it's more about, the 𝗏𝗏𝗁𝐵𝐿𝐿 possibly allowing 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗏𝘁 into the fight.
Now you look at value plays underneath 𝐾 and a core 3 on DraftKings is coming over from Discord. When I look underneath 𝐾, Jandiroba is probably the one that I have the most confidence in this range. But I could I mean, look, I could see Gatto. I mean, Estevam, this fight happens, potentially continues to get the fight to the ground there. I mean, those in Moicano, I mean, look, it's 5 rounds to work with. I think that's definitely someone to sit there. We talk about a core 3 on DraftKings. This is where I almost think for me, it's probably, I'm probably looking at Yakhyaev at 9,900, which then means I got to do a little bit of dumpster diving a little bit. I'd probably go Moicano, even though my pick is Duncan, and then third one's a tough for me. It might be Jandiroba. And then fill up my other 3 with, figure out what I can do salary wise.
I think we are completely spot on. Pay up for Yakhyaev. I know he's 9,900. Take the main event fighter you think is going to win. I think Moicano is going to do it. And then the misprice of the fighter that just fought for the title that I thought won the title in Jandiroba.
Next up, Tristan's got the best leverage play. Jose Delano could be that guy. He could be that leverage play.
I like him. I mean, but he did go 15 minutes. So, I just think that you need a tough dance partner, and 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗏 is one that's willing to fight in a war. And I think that's where Delano's skills can really shine.
Best takedown upside. It's interesting if someone asks this question. Yeah. And I think that she just doesn't care if she goes out there and has a boring fight.
She don't care at all.
I'll point to a fight last week. Ricky Simón. Just not going for takedowns. And I do wonder how much of the mentality has got there to UFC fighters that the UFC just doesn't want boring fights. Even though still the scorecard on that one is still amazing. By the way, you want to know why it pays to cheat in mixed martial arts?
Why? You always get warnings, but yeah, why?
Musayev
Oh, yeah. He grabbed the cage, didn't he?
completely changed the fight.
Yeah.
I mean, a blatant fence grab that stops a takedown. That it changed the fight, and then we have a headbutt.
Yeah. I know. It is. That's why the sport's crazy.
We
need
the
underdogs came.
We need ABS in MMA.
I think the underdogs went nuts last week. I mean, the fights were crazy. It was just oh my God. I mean, definitely not one of my strongest weeks. But there's going to be weeks like that, and it's like, all right, well, if I'm slightly above water, I'm a little bit happy compared to how volatile that card was. But yeah, for this one, man, I mean, this one's the underdogs. Who was the main event last week? Pyfer.
Pyfer and Izzy.
Dude, the underdogs in the main event are going bananas lately. I really think so. I think if we look back on all the cards, they're winning like crazy, which I'm picking Moicano to win, but not because of that.
You had 5 fighters who were DraftKings underdogs last week that scored over 100 points.
It's insane.
Yeah, you got to find those. Ranking the 9K options for me, Yakhyaev would be number 1. 2,
Delano for me.
I don't mind that. I would put 𝗵𝗁𝗵𝐺 over McMillen just because of fantasy score upside. 𝗵𝗁𝗵 wins. He's scoring 115 to 125.
Yeah.
Because I see it's a first round victory. And then I would put Costa last in terms of that one. Sam, top core plays. I mean, if you have the salary, I'm paying off to get the Yakhyaev. We've both mentioned about Jandiroba. The crazy thing is in the 8,000 range. I do wonder, could the value of Renato Moicano lead to some value a little bit on Chris Duncan? In terms of more people getting Moicano because they see the price range. And I think overall it's a mispriced fight. I think this should be more probably in that 8,400, 7,800 range. I think that'd probably be a more accurate price range for this one.
100%.
But I do wonder maybe because people say, hey, I can get Moicano for 7,400, that maybe they don't get it Chris Duncan 8,800, maybe get a little bit of leverage in terms of that.
And I'll kind of like piggyback off of that, and I'll say the common build I would say is that people want to spend up and get to Yakhyaev. So, and then you can combine that with Renato Moicano. So if we kind of think of this from a DFS play, Jason, that's kind of like a stars and scrubs approach. Yeah. Whereas like a more balanced lineup could actually, which could include Duncan or include some of these forgotten fighters within that mid-8 range.
In Sam's next one was top pump plays, and it kind of goes to something that it just kind of popped in my head as you were talking there.
Yeah.
Tresean Gore's probably my pump play. And here's why I say that. And it goes to a strategy you've talked about for a long time. Let's just say 𝗵𝗁𝗵 gets off to a hot start.
Yep. Gore
survives. And now this just becomes a firefight round 2, round 3. Mm-hmm. And let's just say even 𝗵𝗁𝗵 wins 30-27, 29-28. What if Gore goes out there and gets you 35, 40 points at price of 6,700?
Yeah. I mean, anytime we see these underdogs that are getting 45 to 60 points in a loss, you're like, ooh. I mean, it doesn't really matter because they're so cheap. Like, let's say like Manolo Zecchini priced at 6,400. If he turns this into anything, close to a fight, like where he has any success, he's priced at such a bare minimum. Like, I don't know if we've ever had anybody cheaper than that, to be honest. I mean, I don't remember it. And it could lead to like having, a Yakhyaev and a Delano and a 𝗵𝗁𝗵 lineup. You know what I mean? Like, you could end up getting 3 of those 9,000 options by just punting with the cheapest guy.
Favorite parlays, 2 that I think would be a kind of a core play for me to put into a 3-fighter parlay would be Jandiroba at -300, Delano at -300. Problem is you have so many huge favorites this week. Like, it's just like, I don't want to put a -2,000. I mean, Yakhyaev, maybe I would just say he wins by 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐿 at -130. So it gives me 2 -130s and a -300. That gives me a good, nice little 3-fighter leg parlay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would definitely, you'd have to include some underdogs and like Jandiroba as a slight favorite. and then combining it with, for me, I like Moicano. I think there's tons of value on Moicano. I think there's tons of value on Estevam as well. But anytime fighters miss weight, but this seems strategic with this guy. Estevam missing weight, like up a weight class, it seems like he just don't care. I think the UFC will cut ties with him. I mean, he reminds me of that girl out of the Fighting Nerds who misses weight all the time, even when she bumped up, and she's a heavy wrestler as well. I can't think of her name. Her name is escaping me right now. I know you know who I'm talking about.
Names escape my mind.
Yeah, but she's done the same thing. She's done the same exact thing, and it's like it's I don't know. I hope they cut ties with him, to be honest.
Yeah. Jason and Pete's special. So for me, that first fight of the night, I don't love it from a GPP aspect just because of what 𝗃𝐬𝐬𝐜 has been throughout. Maybe, you know, I don't even know if I really love it as a cash game play either.
Yeah, he's a little expensive.
Yeah, he's a little expensive. I mean, for you, it's the 8,200, 8,000 fight, and I mean,
God, I hate that fight too. But I'm going Peterson, man.
I think for a cash game play, Peterson's not a bad play. I just don't. I mean, unless like he just like you mentioned the fight against Dontel Mays, where he got 9 takedowns. That's probably what you're going to need in terms of that one. Top captain MVP. I mean, look, when you're talking about captain MVPs, I'm looking for grapplers. You know, who's going to get massive takedowns?
Eduardo Mora. That just came back to me. Eduardo Mora. Yeah.
The thing is in these captains and MVP contests, it's always going to be that the main event is highly rated. Jandiroba kind of fits that mold of the takedowns against Ricci.
Sure does.
If Estevam, this fight happens, I mean, kind of does look like a weight bully.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are ones that stick out to me. I mean, it's just the price tags you're going to pay in that captain role of Yakhyaev and McMillen are just such a massive price point there. In terms of that, Road to Man Series over under 5.5.
Way too low. I'm at 7. I'm at 7.5 is the number. We got a lot of fights, man.
I'm trying to think of the ones that I would lean over in that situation, but man, I just, you know what, as much as crap has been talked about this card, and I've done it too, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I haven't sat there. I mean, I've said I forget the line, and when me and Pete connected, I might have said, "Woof, this is ugly." Hopefully the fight card delivers. You know, maybe this is going to be one of those ones where just, you know, it doesn't have the name value, but you know, ultimately just delivers a bunch of awesome fights for us.
I mean, imagine like not having money on the card. Like imagine not betting or not playing DFS and just like wanting to tune in to watch this. I don't think I would.
No. I mean,
you know what I mean? Like imagine when things were so pure that we didn't bet or we didn't play DFS. I don't think I'd be tuning into this like all that much.
I will tell you, especially with these Apex cards, I just feel like I have to contain myself on the betting side. And just, you know, just because, you want to grow that bankroll.
I hear you, bro.
But, you know, as I look at the betting side of this, there's not a lot I sit back and say, hey, I really love.
That's how I felt. And then the more research I did and the more stuff I started to type into my model and algorithm, I'm like, all right, well, we're gonna swing and we're gonna try. So that's why I ended up 4 underdogs this week.
And that's where also you have to remember that as much as a lot of these fight cards have not been great this year, next week we do have a really solid numbered event. Of course, you got Prohaska, Olberg is your main event. Van Tara, co-main event, Blades, Holkett, Reyes, Walker, Murzkanov, Costa. Maybe my favorite fight on that card, Patricio Pitbull, Aaron Pico.
Oh, wow.
I mean, look at this. Cub Swanson, Nate Landwehr. That could, you know, if those two guys decided to go out there and stand and bang.
Oh, what a fight. Cub's been looking. Oh, man, what a fight.
Take this one, okay? Your opening fight of the prelims next week is Kevin Gastelum versus Vicente Luque.
Gosh.
The second fight is Tatiana Suarez versus Lupe Godinez.
Holy shit.
Hey, nothing says like we're burying women's MMA where we have the number 2 fighter division, number 6 fighter division, and they're the second fight on the card.
That's pretty terrible. I don't like that.
Kevin Holland, Randy Brown's on that card as well. But yeah, it's a really good. I mean, look, as much as there's been crap talked about the fight card quality of the UFC, and look, there's a very valid criticism. They have done a really nice job next week, so looking forward to that. And look, I'm sure I'll be sitting in front of my television tomorrow.
You're gonna be watching. Who else?
Being a degenerate UFC gambler.
Mm-hmm.
As much as
I see me last week after the BKFC, me and my boy, we went to, because I don't work there no more, right? So I'm full time at the gym. That's all I do. We went to Sportsbook, bro. I was having such a good time. Ended up winning a decent amount of money so I could buy some more equipment for the gym. Next morning, spent it all buying equipment for the gym. So it was just like, thank you, Sportsbook.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you. You know what? I had a bad beat last week.
Who?
Adrian Yanez to win inside the distance.
Oh yeah, that sucked. Ricky was out.
Dude, if that was not with 20 seconds left in the fight, if that happened with 20 seconds left, not 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then the scorecards. How?
But then did you see him stumbling and staggering? I mean, like.
Oh yeah, he was out. I mean,
Yanez looked good.
Yeah, I mean Yanez, he looked good. It's and I saw this tweet from Ali Abdelaziz, and to me it was a really good tweet, kind of talking about just where we are currently in mixed martial arts, and I think it's something you have to think about when you're talking about your DFS lines and your betting lines. Where he said this, he said, "The game has changed for all young fighters. Winning alone is not enough anymore. It's about how you fight, how you make a statement, and how you show that you're a complete fighter." It's a lot of truth to that. Yep. That's where, like, I even though, like, you look at someone like Orlando Virna, clearly could just go to Takedown City, but the UFC has made the message clear. I think there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the UFC appreciates people that like take people down, but don't take people down and stall out. Like, mix in hard strikes, takedowns, go for the finish on the mat or standing up. I think that's all it is. Just go for the finish.
God, I'm trying to think about the fight. It was within the last 2 or 3 UFC events. Fighter was up clearly 2-0. And they were just running around in the 3rd round. They're just running around the cage. And I'm just like...
That's a way to get cut.
Yeah. I mean, because... And I think sometimes people forget that, yes, this is sports, but it's also entertainment. And the UFC wants fight...
I don't like that.
Yeah, no, you don't like that at all. But that is going to do it for this edition of Fight HQ. Of course, we'll be back next Friday to get you ready for UFC 327. As always, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. Of course, check out Pete's Patreon page as well. And also, be sure to lock into that DK contest.